Hi, today we're going to talk about the muscular system. We know that muscles are very important in the human body, and first of all, let us classify them first. There are three types of muscles in the human body. First one would be the skeletal muscles, and as you can clearly see in this particular model of the skeletal muscles, they're found all throughout the body. As the term implies, they're attached to your bones or skeleton. The other type of muscle is what we call cardiac muscles. Okay? Cardiac muscles are essentially the one that you find in the wall of your heart, otherwise known as your myocardium. So here is your heart, and as you can clearly see here, if I expose the chambers of the heart, you can show that it's made up of the myocardium. So this is the myocardium here, found on the walls of the heart. Okay? So the myocardium, the word myo means muscle, cardium or cardiac means heart. We know that the heart is a muscular pump, therefore it plays a very important role in doing so. Okay? The third type of muscle is called the smooth muscles. And these smooth muscles are found in the wall of your hollow organs, such as your stomach, at the same time your small and your large intestine. The small intestine is 20 feet long. The large intestine is essentially only 5 feet long. This is the ascending colon. This is the cecum, ascending colon. This would be the transverse colon, descending because it goes down, colon, sigmoid colon, the rectum, and the anus. Essentially, these muscles are found within the walls of these hollow organs. So what kind of muscles do you find here? Your smooth muscles. Okay? Now, so it's important, therefore, to be able to differentiate one from the other. Your skeletal muscles, the one you find here, all throughout attached to your bones, are what we call multinucleated muscles. What does that mean? It means that it has one muscle cell essentially has only more than one nucleus. Multi means more than one. On the other hand, your cardiac has a single nucleus, your smooth has a single nucleus per muscle cell. Not only that, on examination within the microscope and under the microscope, you can see that the skeletal muscles are heavily striated, while your cardiac muscles are slightly striated. Now, what about your smooth muscles? The smooth muscles are non-striated. So these are non-striated muscles. Now, what else? The other important consideration is that the skeletal muscles are what we consider as voluntary, which means it is under the control of the brain and the conscious mind. So, for example, if I want to bend my elbow, I need my biceps brachii here. So the brain tells the muscles to contract in order to bring about the movement of elbow flexion, to bend the elbow. On the other hand, your cardiac muscle, of course, as we said, is the muscle you find within the walls of the heart. It is involuntary. What does it imply? In other words, the brain can never stop the heart from pumping blood. But is it possible for the brain to regulate the heart rate? Yes, it could. On the lecture in the brain, there is a structure in the brain called the medulla oblongata, which essentially is the cardiac center of the brain. What does that mean? It can either accelerate or increase the heart rate, which is called tachycardia. Tachy means fast, cardia means heart, more than 100 beats per minute, while it can also decelerate the heart rate, making it slow down, which is less than 60 beats per minute, okay, if it's bradycardia. The normal heart rate ranges from 60 to 100 beats per minute. Again, what is responsible for the pumping action of the heart is the myocardium, made up of the cardiac muscles. The third one, as we know, is of course the one I mentioned that you find here. They're everywhere. And again, if you will notice, they are important muscles in the hollow organs of the heart. Of the hollow organs of these digestive organs. Okay? Now, let's talk about the different skeletal muscles. The skeletal muscles, as you can clearly see, are important, and let's try to identify some of them, okay? The muscles found in the head and the face includes the muscles called the orbicularis oculi. Orbicularis means round, oculi pertains to the eye. In the mouth, you have your orbicularis oris, okay, which means mouth, oral cavity. Orbicularis means round. There are muscles called the, if you look closely here, these muscles are the muscles that are called zygomaticus major, which are responsible when you want to smile. A smaller muscle called the risorius is important for when a person wants to grin, you know, something like this. When you smile, zygomaticus major. When you grin, you need the risorius. The orbicularis oris is found around the mouth, and the oculi is around the eye. Okay? Now, of course, you have the muscle here called the masseter, found in the angle of the jaw. Okay? And of course, you have here the buccinator muscles that you find here on the cheek. They're called buccinator muscles. Again, also note that these are the frontalis muscles, occipitofrontalis muscle, and the temporalis muscles. As you go down in the neck, you have muscles called the sternocleidomastoid. Now, why is it called sternocleidomastoid? Well, from the mere fact it's attached to the sternum here, and of course it's also attached to the mastoid process of the temporal bone, okay, which is part of the skull over there, okay. And cleido means part of it is attached to your clavicle. Now, this muscle called the sternocleidomastoid is responsible for the movements of the neck, to flex, or if one contracts, movement to the left or to the right. Sternocleidomastoid, 3 attachments: sternum, clavicle, and the mastoid process of the temporal bone. Now, what about the muscle in front here? It's called the pectoralis major. So this particular muscle is found in front of your chest. Underneath that will be the pectoralis minor muscle. Now, let's just mention some of these muscles in the upper limbs. The deltoid, the muscle found here where you do a lot of intramuscular injections. And of course, the biceps brachii. And behind that would be what? The triceps brachii, the muscle you find here at the back of your upper arm. The biceps brachii is for movements of the elbow towards flexion. Triceps will be towards elbow extension, like this. Okay? Now, what about your muscles here in the forearm? These are wrist flexors here. And on the opposite side would be wrist and finger extensors. Okay? Now, you will notice here that there are a lot of muscles in the hand, and we'll have a special lecture on that. Now, in front of the abdominal area, you have the rectus abdominis. The word rectus means straight, abdominis pertaining to the fact that this muscle is found in front of the abdominal wall. Okay? That is your rectus abdominis muscle. Okay? Now, in the lower limbs, these are muscles called the quadriceps, okay? And the sartorius muscle. So we're going to have a special lecture on this on the lower limbs. And again, that will be the first part of our lecture on the muscular system. Okay? So in the next lecture, we'll talk about the lower limb muscles. Okay, now it's important to know the nerve supply of some of these muscles here, because if the muscles are not able to move or paralyzed, it means most likely the nerve supply is destroyed or damaged. The deltoid muscle, for example, is innervated by the axillary nerve. The biceps brachii is innervated by your musculocutaneous nerve, while the muscles at the back here called the triceps are innervated by your radial nerve. The flexor muscles here are innervated mostly by the median nerve, and there are muscles like your flexor digitorum profundus, which is also not only innervated by the median nerve, but partly the ulnar nerve. The flexor carpi ulnaris, on the other hand, is just purely ulnar nerve innervation. Majority of the muscles here are medial nerve innervated in the flexors of the wrist and fingers. What about the wrist and finger extensors? The one you found here at the back. Just like your triceps brachii, the wrist and finger extensors are innervated by your radial nerve. Okay? Now the facial muscles, very easy to remember because they're just innervated by the facial nerve. Okay, that's it. Have a good day.